You know, I've always had really broad interests that cross visual art, music, performance, poetry, film. I try very hard to keep up with work in all forms. I'm Jay Sanders. I'm the curator and curator of performance at the Whitney Museum. I was working at a commercial gallery as a curator and gallery director there, and Elizabeth Sussman, she approached me and then invited me to co-curate the 2012 Whitney Biennial. A few performing artists such as Sarah Mitchelson or Richard Maxwell, they wanted to work on a large open floor. We had this performance floor that was long with single artist runs or festival weeks. Working on that show gave me a lot of ideas how you could cite performance of all sorts within an institution like a museum and create artistic opportunities that let the artist really define the nature of their work. I've been spending a lot of this year going through the Whitney archives. The Whitneys had this very rich ongoing relationship with performance of all sorts, and in putting it in vicinity with visual art, that was strong at the Breuer in the 60s and 70s. There was a series called The Composer Showcase that started in the late 60s, and one of the first shows was Ornette Coleman, Cecil Taylor, Sonny Rollins on a gallery floor. It was a kind of radical thing to put that adventurous modern jazz in relation to visual art of the time. There's this really strong legacy of downtown dance, like Judson-era dance. Deborah Hay, Trisha Brown, Lucinda Childs. There's this really key exhibition to the Whitney's history called Auntie Illusion, where then you had Steve Reich and Philip Glass and Bruce Nauman doing gallery performances in the vicinity of kind of process art. Then the Whitney began to have partnerships that were on other locations. So there was this important space called Whitney Museum at Philip Morris that was on Park Avenue, 42nd Street. Then that became Whitney Altria when the company changed its name. From '83 to 2007, that was the primary site for performance at the museum. And I talked to a lot of performing artists, and to have played at the Whitney was a feather in the cap. So we're in the Whitney's new theater. It's a sort of historical change for the museum. It's our first dedicated performance space. We can do performances that engage the city and have this view of the river and the west side, and we can also bring down a series of curtains. And up there is the booth, and the tech can be run from up there, and then that's actually above what is recessed seating that can pull out from the wall. So it can be a sort of flat, open loft space, but then you can also bring out retractable riser seating. In the new Whitney, there's much more of a relationship with the city, so it's very porous. Actually, there's a lot of sight lines out to the city. There's 4 floors of tiered outdoor spaces, and these can be for performance. Only when artists start working in there will we know what it's going to be, and though we have this great theater, we want to let performance exist throughout the building. It won't be strictly taking place in the theater in a kind of conventional sense. I find really deep artistic dialogues, inevitably lead to more fully realized works with artists as they feel more empowered to work in a context they may not be as familiar with, like a museum. But I think we always put the artist voice forward. The framing of it within the museum, it's there, but there's a lightness that really lets the artist's vision broadcast out from it. I've watched my colleagues as they're designing the new spaces, and it's always been really with a vision to how to craft intimate experiences in a museum that's growing.